Hey, how goes it? Today is going to be a slightly different episode. We're going to be discussing some ideas here on how to build a killing castle. As a lot of you guys know, I don't like to kill players. Let me put it this way. I don't like to win at this game. Winning at this game isn't fun. Just because I can kill everybody that comes into my castle doesn't mean it's in any way fun for anyone. I would rather make really entertaining castles. But a lot of you guys want me to kill people rather than screw with them by putting a offshoot over here and slowing people down and messing with them like that. So we're gonna discuss how to kill a player. These are just ideas that I have. They're probably not optimized. I'm not gonna bother looking on the forum to figure out exactly what's overpowered at this moment. And they may be not as good in future patches. But this is my idea, using some meta stuff and taking advantage of various things to try and break the game a little bit, or at least get a really high kill ratio when it comes to people coming into my castle. Something like ending up in the 70%. So one of the biggest things that people complain about, and even people in the comments that don't know me, like people in my in this that say like you need more monsters, that's a thing. Now here's the thing with monsters versus traps. Monsters have a chance of healing you. They drop life orbs. I'm not a fan of that. If I'm going to kill somebody, I can't be affording to heal them. It doesn't help me in the slightest. So I want to do as much damage as possible that they can't do anything about. So I'm not a huge fan of monsters for that reason. Now I'm a little bit more of a fan of them just because there's no longer healing abilities. Like, I'm pretty sure in no class now. Let me see, it was this. This is now a shielding strike. I don't even remember what hers was, but she doesn't have any healing thing. She just has shields. His death bolt, which I now don't have anymore because my mage is still too low level. It shields you now, I believe. Yeah, temporary shields. And he never had a healing thing, I don't think. But, yeah, so... none of the characters can heal themselves now. They can just shield. So the idea here is, I'm going to not give them the opportunity to heal as much as possible. If I'm going to put down monsters, they're going to be things that are going to work in ways where it's going to be hard for them to kill them by the time the damage gets dealt. So let's talk about how we can optimize that damage. It's all going to happen in this room. Having a good boss room and a good room prior to the boss room is very important for this plan. In the boss room, I want to pile as many traps as possible. Mainly for the reason that bosses can't be harmed by traps. Bosses can walk through any trap. Every other monster can be hit by traps. So what I'm going to do, if anything, is I'll drop a boss in here with a ton of traps, and the traps are going to do most of the damage. The boss is just going to be there as something they have to kill before they can open this door. It's going to be a time sink. To optimize that time sink, I'm going to use, and I don't have the proper ones right now because I haven't got all the mats, but I'm going to use Defendatrons. Or more accurately, if I can find the correct one, not the Aura Guardian one. I need... No. Shields the closest creature. Bubble Guardian. This one. This is going to attach onto my boss, and it's going to give my boss essentially an extra 2,000 health. That's really the only important thing. As long as it stays attached to the boss, I'm happy. That's really the goal, and it might take damage from traps, but still, it's 2,000 extra health. If the traps end up weakening it, that's okay, it's still extra health. The next thing that I'm going to put in here is going to be healer bone puppets, and maybe a healer skull doctor, whichever they are. Which one's this? This is enrages all... wait. Enrages all creatures in a large area. Enraging might be a helpful thing to do for the boss as well. I'll probably just use puppeteers though. I think a pile of puppeteers might be more useful than a large healer. Especially considering I'm really only interested in it healing a couple of things. So if I put a pile of small healers in with a boss and its shield robot, which one is it again? Is it the Bubble Guardian? Yes, Bubble Guardian. So if I put in a bunch of these little dudes healing, a bunch of Bubble Guardians, and maybe a couple of enraging ones. Let's raise all dead. Raising all dead's not a horrible idea either. It'll just be a constant thing. Where, you know, enemies keep coming in. So something like that will make it more difficult for them to clear the boss room, just because they'll be constantly getting healed, constantly, you know, doing damage, and they'll be getting hit by traps all the time. So basically what I'm thinking here is a bunch of these ballistas in here, spread out strategically so they're always shooting. A trap room, probably better than this, because this you can get back through if you really try. But a good wall of traps that they can't get through. You know, basically you have to make this a one-way door, similar to several patches back, where you made something a one-way door, and once they were in there, they were committed to the fight. That's an important thing as well. And that's really the most important parts to making what I think is a killing castle. Like I said, killing people is not that fun for me. I mean, I've just described a really simple, really cheap way that I think would get at least a 50% kill ratio, and would probably kill most people who come into it the first time. I mean, you go in here, even with the trap disabler, if you just, you know, if you, say we're playing a mage, and we disable AoE a chunk of traps right here, because by far I think the mage is the better of all the trap disabling things. So if I say I stick myself in this corner, and I disable all the traps here, we'll say that we have, like, you know, these scattered every few blocks, just so you can optimize hitting people. And we cover the entire floor in that, and spike traps and stuff like that. So even if you disable this little area for, how long is the mages? Let me double check just so I know. For 5 seconds? What's the cooldown? 4 seconds? So I guess you could keep spamming that until you're out of mana. But we still have the boss coming in to hit you, and I think the boss that I would probably feel best using here might be a Snottingham. Because it would be, I mean, he's got a lot of health, and he drops small AoE damaging circles on the ground, essentially. And that's really the best option I can think of for a boss. Dirt's kind of garbage still, no matter what. Other things that you might want to consider putting in here would be things that slow other things down. I don't even know what these do, because I haven't used these yet. Dealing damage on the way back. So he's got a boomerang. What are the other bosses? We have the bone guy, and the giant spider, and the flaming dragon thing. Which one's this? Bolos. This one's snares. That could be really handy. I've yet to use him, but he could be pretty cool. And wasn't there another one? I guess not. I think that they're probably better than, say, putting out a, you know, smelly archer, or they might, depending on how good they are and how good their range is and stuff, they might be better than a smelly archer or a, I don't like the names of these now. The Hungerbot's still called a Hungerbot, but why is he called Mr. Dyson? Is he the big one? Yeah, he has to be. I don't care for that name. But yeah, so that's gonna be our goal for the boss room and the room before the boss room. So let's discuss this idea here. a lot of people are saying that I'm not packing my castle full of enough stuff. Like, for example, this is a complete waste. Why bother? I don't need to slow down people because, you know, this is just a waste of time and they go over here and do absolutely nothing. This is really the only important part, and I should pack it full of as many traps and as many mobs as I can, which is pretty full, and I'm not happy with how good it is either. But it's, you know, it does what it's supposed to do at the point that I can do it right now. I need more points, really. But going back to the end of last season, I had the idea of a castle that was essentially nothing but a boss room and a room before it. There was nowhere to pull things back. There was nowhere to do anything else. It was basically, here's the castle, get into a big boss fight full of things that are going to hurt you. And you would be at a severe disadvantage. I'm still liking that idea, and the idea is really just a smaller castle with more stuff packed into it. Because when you get too many rooms, you want to start spreading things out just on impulse. And in the old versions, where you didn't have this version of monster placement and you had to place everything in specific places and pulls worked differently, you could only put so many mobs in a certain area. Right here I have 50 out of 26 points just in this little circle. This isn't meant to be a good pull at all. This is just me dumping monsters here because But in old castles, you had to space things out. You needed more rooms. The more rooms you had, the more monsters you could put. In this one, I can put all of them in this room. I'm pretty sure I could squeeze about 300 points of monsters into this room. 300 points of monsters and traps into this room, pretty much definitely. They would all pull really stupidly because they'd all run away, and you've seen me just smash castles that way by pulling the boss, giving the boss the aggro where, you know, when you pull a boss, for anyone who's just started watching this season, if you pull a boss, it gets the, what's the word that they used? Tickets. I've explained the ticket system in a tutorial I did a while back. It's not hard to find if you look through my old videos. But basically, out of these points, out of the 26 points, in here it's something different. In here it's like, actually, let's just pick somebody up, move them in here. It's 46 points. So out of these 46 points, if you go above, anything that is above the 46 point mark runs away from you. And the boss always has priority. And bosses cost a lot. Let's see. So this guy is 26 points. So if I put him out here, can I do this? Yes, I have just enough. See, this is 42. If I put more stuff out here, he would go, and everything else that was above 4 more points would run away. So bosses always have priority when it comes to pulling. This is why I am not a fan of loading a ton of monsters in here, especially. Because if you load a ton of monsters in here, they're all going to run away and the boss is going to go. Now, if you're just going to do nothing but smaller monsters and try and get huge pulls in groups of like 46 points at a time, that's a much more viable strategy. But at the same time, all someone has to do is run through, pull everything, and then while dodging all the stuff, go after the things that are going to be problems, like the snipers and Zeeks, or the healers, or the silencers, and all that stuff. Oh, that's another thing I should definitely put in this boss room. I believe I have, at least I should have, I did have, prior to the patch, silencing mobs, but I don't have them anymore because of the patch. So, I guess I'm gonna have to upgrade this thing. I'm not sure what level I can get this up to, but I need a Dispeller. What level is a Dispeller at? Where are you? There you are. Or a Dampener at level 10. So that's 3 levels. I might be able to get that without having to level anything up anymore, because I think 11 is your max. So I've got to level up this thing, which is annoying. But, oh, there's Dr. Skull. So yeah, a dampener in here would definitely help because it would make the player less able to... Well, first off, they wouldn't be able to disable any traps in a room full of traps. And they wouldn't be able to kill the boss nearly as quickly. So, these are all plans for what I've got for the future. Right now, this is going to have to do... if I were to really capitalize on this design, what I would do is I would put barricades in here where these mines are. These are kind of temporary. But if I put a barricade, like a row of barricades right here, people would have to come over here and they'd have to hit the barricade. Although I'd probably move these over here and put the barricade there so you have a wall of guys to get through and then more guys to hit you and the barricade. To stop you from moving past it. Because right now you just charge through this. Really, that's the only trick. Charge through it, disable whatever you can, and then keep charging through it until you hit here, and then charge through this, and then fight all the monsters. It's a really, really bad castle design, but I just threw this out because I needed something. Prior to that, it was an empty room with hardly anything in it, and not a lot of anything beyond that. It was literally defenseless. But yeah, so, this is going to be really, really costly. That's the main drawback to this. It's going to cost... probably... I don't know how much this is going to cost to upgrade later, but I mean, this upgrade is just 50,000. And then it's going to be probably another 75, and then probably another 100, so, you know, 200,000 gold. Just to level it up so I can get the dampener. And then moving everything out here, and then the biggest problem, the one that I'm not looking forward to at all, because I know you guys have been having a seriously hard time getting mats for these. I need 2 more of these, 2 more epic mats to drop. That's probably not going to happen anytime soon. Also, more eyes. That could be another 20 hours of just grinding. I'm really hoping the mat drops increase sometime soon, but right now it's really hard to get anything. And that's just for Count Sonningham. I'm not even certain that Count Sonningham's gonna work very well. But fuck it, I mean, it looks like the best idea right now. So yeah, if you guys have any input, any ideas on whether or not that's a good idea, a bad idea, a horrible idea, or whatever, but that's my plan. Good one-way door here, so they can't pull mobs back through it, and a boss room from hell.